Hi everybody, welcome to Cap at Home. I am Miss Rachel and I am going to show you how to make a magazine bow today. So let's hop over to the table and get started. Okay, so this project is really simple and I'm actually redoing this video because the first video was so messed up. So we are going to try it again. So we're making a magazine bow and we only need a few materials. The first thing you will need, of course, magazine pages. So I have a couple here, but the way the measurements are set up in the instructions make it so that you can use one magazine page for one bow. But I like to use a couple different ones that might have some different colors and things like that so that my bow is more colorful. But you can use just one paper for one bow. You will also need scissors, one ruler. I have two. I like to use my little see-through ruler to make my lines really easily, but a regular ruler will work fine. You don't need anything to write with because you can kind of eyeball it, but if you're going to use the ruler, you might as well use the pencil or marker or whatever you have to draw your lines on your page. And then you'll need tape. And if you don't have tape, you can also do this with a glue stick and or staples. But I'm going to use tape in the example today. So the first thing you want to do is draw lines on your paper. And each one of these lines is 3/4 of an inch wide. So with our standard ruler, see if I can get this up here in the camera. Measuring from the line, that is 3/4 of an inch right there, that mark. 3/4 of an inch. So you're going to do that and draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, which will give you, I think, 8 strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, it will give you 8 strips. And on here, I also have some other lines that I will explain after I cut my stuff out. So you can use scissors to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and use my X-Acto knife that I put away. Or actually a breakaway blade. Okay. So if you decide to use an X-Acto knife like me, make sure you also have a cutting mat like me. I have this small one that's available at Dollar Tree now, which is really great. And then I have a metal L square, which is also available at Dollar Tree, which you will need if you're going to use a blade to cut your paper because you don't want to cut your table up, and the mat will protect your table, and having a metal ruler will help you cut straight because you can use your blade along with it, and the blade will not cut through the metal ruler. It will cut through plastic rulers, believe me. I've done it, I know. So don't use an X-Acto or a craft blade with a plastic ruler. Make sure you have a metal one. So, have those there. And you could kind of eyeball cutting these strips out. But we have these rulers, so why not use them? And you need a couple different lengths of strips, which I will explain momentarily. So you have your longest strips, which should be about 11 inches. And you'll need 3 of those. And then you'll need strips that are a little bit shorter. 3 strips that are a little bit shorter, about an inch shorter. So if your longest ones are 11 inches, then the next one should be 10 inches. And then you'll need 2 strips that are even shorter than the ones you just cut. So those will be about 9 inches long. And then your smallest strip will be 3.5 inches. So I will go over those lengths again once I have everything cut out. So, and I know you're like, Miss Rachel, you using this blade does not seem faster than scissors, but that is okay. Sometimes it's not always about speed, and I could do this faster, but it might get a little dangerous. So I want to show you the best way to do this without putting your fingers or any other body parts in danger. So I'm lining up my ruler with the marker line, and I'm using the metal edge to keep this straight by pressing my blade up against that metal edge. And I am making sure my fingers are out of the way and off to one side of the ruler that is opposite the side that I'm cutting on. So, and I'm throwing my trash away as I go. And I'm cutting up multiple pages at one time because if you do this project more than once, it's kind of a hassle to stop and cut each time. So if you're going to do this and you know you want to make 5 bows, I would suggest cutting 5 pieces of paper all at once. So, and I'm keeping my strips separate because they're different sizes, and that is important. And then this last one is really, really tiny. And since it is so tiny, I'll just go ahead and use my scissors and throw away the extra paper, because I can do that in like one cut. Kind of. There we go. But my scissors have gunk on them. I should clean those off. Okay. So now I have all of my strips cut out, as you can see. And I'm going to grab what I need and then put my extras to the side. And I'm done with my blade, so I'm going to put this away. I like using this one because it's retractable, which means the blade goes inside and it protects your fingers and the blade. So that's good. So I only need one of my smallest ones. So I'm going to put that there and put the other ones to the side. And I need 2 of the second smallest ones. So I'm going to put the other ones to the side, and I'm going to make sure that I keep them separated by size so I don't have to figure it out next time I go to make another bow. Then I need 3 in this third longest size. And like I said, you can mix and match your papers, but I'm just going to use the top papers. And then you'll need 3 of the longest side. I don't know which way to say that. Oh, and I think one strip is like all white. So there we go. So this is what you should have at the end of step 1. So now we are going to make these twisty loops, and it's not difficult. It just takes some doing. So I'm going to slow this down and do this the right way, because that is the entire reason I am redoing this video. Okay. So you want to keep these in place somewhere, and I'm just going to kind of slide my mat over so that I have a work area. And I'm going to start with the longest ones. Now we want our bow to have these cone-shaped loops. So we're going to try to recreate that now. And it's difficult for me to explain verbally, so I'm going to try to show you how to do this. One thing that is really helpful is to have tape already pulled off and kind of just off the edge of your table so that you can just grab a piece of tape really quickly as you are working. And we will need 2 pieces of tape for each strip. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And then just 1 for the last one. So 17 pieces of tape total. If you have someone helping you, they can tear off the tape and you can make the loops. It can definitely be a team process. Oh no. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I have this here for reference, and I want to bring this around kind of like those ribbons that you see people wearing, and they mean different things. Like some of them are like cancer research and stuff. So bring it around like that. And now I'm going to turn this around because you want to create this shape at the top. So I'm going to hold this in place and kind of flip it over and slide it on up to the other side and then tape it. So you have this loopy kind of thing going on, but it should look like a figure 8. So I'm doing that a whole bunch more times so you'll definitely be able to see it. And if I can, oh goodness, sometimes your tape sticks to the table and it defeats the purpose of pulling it off in the first place. So I'm just going to tape the end of it shut, fold over a little excess tape, and then I'm going to kind of shift it around so that this taped piece is at the bottom. And I'm going to, like, it could be a fat 8, but I'm going to make it a little bit skinnier because I know I need to fit 3 more on the same layer with this later on. So I'm going to make it kind of skinny. Now I'm taping it down and I have tape off to the sides. So I'm just going to kind of stick that toward the back, push it toward the back. All right, so let's do this, like 8 more times. Let me grab my chair. So I need to sit down. And this one might be kind of difficult to see because both sides are white. But we will do this slowly. I am going to start with the end toward me and then bring this other end around. Oop. And make my little ribbon like that. And then bring this end over and kind of just shift it and tape this down. So let's see if I can find some words to describe this to help people who might need verbal instructions. So with this figure 8 on the table, I'm going to kind of narrow it out just by pushing the sides together, putting my tape down right there, and pushing this back. And as I'm doing this, I'm keeping my long strips together because it does make a difference later on. So just make sure you're setting them aside, but all of the strips that are the same size end up getting set aside together. There we go. So one more long one, but I still have 5 more after this. So making my ribbon and then taking this end piece and turning it around, and it looks really weird, but if the paper is kind of balling up on you like that, then you're doing it right. It feels wrong, but you are doing it right. It's really loopy up in here now. Okay. All right, I ran out of pieces of tape that are already Okay, so this isn't difficult, but it does take some patience. So if you're doing this for the first time, or even the second or third, because I'm pretty sure I made like 5 of these bows and I could not get it together on the first video. So take it from me, take your time. But once you get it down pat, it is so worth it. And one thing that helps me remember how to do these kinds of things is showing someone else. So if you're working on this is the perfect time to grab a sibling and be like, oh, look what I learned. And if you can teach it, you know it. So go ahead and grab somebody, teach them so you can get the hang of it. Okay, did I do this one right? I think this one is wrong. So I'm going to untape it, cut it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Well, that's why we have extras. So I'm just going to cut, make sure that is the right size. And as you can see, it takes practice. So I got my little loop there. Another thing I wanted to make sure that you know is you want to be careful with the thin paper. So if you're using a magazine and the pages are really thin, be careful with that, because I definitely have ripped a couple of these loops. And as you can see, if you go through this process, you don't want to get to the end and you're like ripping everything up, because you're taking your time to do this. So you also might be able to tell that it is helpful to kind of have somebody on tape duty. So if you have someone there to help you, use that help. Okay, making our little bow that way. And I'm bringing the little end tab around. And it's looping up on me, so I'm assuming that I'm doing it right. There we go. I want to spread that loop out. Still haven't found the words to describe exactly how this is going. But we got 3 more loops. And remember, I am setting these off to the side and making sure that all of the same sizes are together so that they don't get mixed up for the next step. So one end over the other, turn it, and kind of bend one end toward you, tape it to the other end. That still doesn't make sense if you're not looking at what I'm doing. So this is a very visual learning process that we're going through today. Okay. Alrighty. So, and all of these loops will come together to make a nice little bow at the end. And that bow is going to have like 3 layers, so to speak. And I imagine you can make a really big version of this bow too. So if you wanted to cut your strips to be larger than 3/4 of an inch wide, you could do that and make a really big version of this. So whatever you do, we want pictures. We want to see that you are with us and that this information that we're giving you is useful to you. So post some pictures in the comments, or you can even email them to us, because we would love to get pictures of what you've done in the email, and maybe we'll post it on our social media pages if you say it's okay. We can tag you in it. All your friends and family can see what you've done and what you've worked on. So I'm really just talking to myself now. Make sure I remember to separate each size loop so they don't get mixed up together. Almost done. The very last tiny loop, you don't have to do all of this figure 8 stuff for. You're just going to make it one little single loop instead of the double loops that we've been making. It is by far the easiest loop to make. So if you've made it this far, just stop and give yourself a little pat on the back, because you persevered. All right, the last loop, the tiniest loop, just gonna do like that. Bam. And it is that easy. Okay. There we go. So now I'm going to show you what my loops look like set off to the side. So I have those, that one, and then I have the 3 medium loops, and then the 3 large loops. So let's move that up. And we are going to stack each layer. Now I'll show you what I mean. Since I can never find my stapler, we're using tape. But if you have, what is that called? Not a glue gun. You don't need a glue gun. You can use it, but that's kind of excessive. But if you have a glue stick, you'll put some glue right here in the middle and then stick each loop on top of each other and put glue in between each loop like that. But I'm using tape. So you can use your tape flat and just kind of stick it down, or you can do the tape loop method, where you just kind of loop the tape onto itself like that, kind of like we did this little piece. Stick that in the middle and then stick your layer down. So I have my largest layer here now. I'm going to set that off to the side and do my medium layer and then my small one. So I'm going to do the flat tape method. So this does use up a lot of tape if you end up doing it with the tape, but the stapler method just uses the one staple, but it is kind of difficult to get that staple into this loop. So try it out. And like you saw, I cut a whole lot of paper out all at once. So if you do the same thing that I did in the beginning and cut a bunch of little pieces out, you can try it a bunch of different times with each different method. So I'm using my tape flat and I'm sticking it through this loop so that I have a little tape on each side, and then I'm going to stick it down. So that can get kind of tricky. So now I have my 3 layers, small, medium, and large, and you guessed it, I'm just going to stack them on top of each other. And for this part, I'm going to use the loop method with the tape. Just kind of roll it over onto itself so that it ends up being kind of like double-sided tape. So if you are fancy enough to have double-sided tape, you don't even need to do the loop method. You can just tear a piece off and stick it like that. Bam. Okay. And I am going to try to tear that piece off. Use a little muscle. There we go. Got my loop method there. And I'm going to put my finger right in the middle of this loop and really stick it all down because I don't want it to come together. I mean, to come apart. I want it to stay together. There we go. Alrighty. So it's not necessarily the easiest thing, but once you get the hang of it, I think it's worth it. So hopefully you make a bunch of these little bows for all of the holiday gifts that you end up giving. Make sure you throw any scraps away in your handy dandy scrap trash bin, wherever it is. Get that out of the way. Return your supplies to their home in your home and enjoy the holiday. So, got a phone call coming in. Okay. So this has been Cap at Home. I am Miss Rachel. We made magazine gift bows today. And make sure you are following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so you can see our library of videos and catch up on anything you may have missed or just rewatch things in case some of the steps are kind of confusing. So we would love to see what you made with us. If you made this bow, make sure you drop a picture in the in the comments, or email it to us at cap@collegeforcreativestudies.edu, and we will make sure we take a look at that and give you all the kudos and congratulations for persevering through this video to make this bow. Thank you so much for joining me again if you saw the mess up video, and I will see you next week at Cap at Home. Bye.